So, good evening. Welcome to the November City Lit Late Lines. What a fabulous evening I think we have ahead of us. Just to introduce myself, I'm Lou Kuenzler. I'm a children's writer and frequent City Lit tutor. And I'm going to be your host tonight, which is a great honour and some absolutely fabulous writing lined up for you. Just a tiny bit of housekeeping before we start. There's a link to a survey that's going to be posted in the chat. If you could take a moment at the end to fill in that form, we'd be hugely grateful. And you can offer suggestions about what worked really well in this session and what we could have done better, and perhaps some suggestions for future events. We'd really, really appreciate that. Also, although tonight's event is free, we would really encourage you to make a donation, if at all possible, to the City Lit Bursary Fund. And again, that link is going to be put in the chat, or you can Google City Lit Student Bursary. And the form, the feedback form, I believe, will also be emailed to you. Lovely. That's the boring bits out of the way. So without further ado, let's get going on this really exciting evening where we've got poems, prose, non-fiction, children's writing, and a bundle of fun. I'm going to actually lead off myself reading a short extract from my own recent middle grade historical children's novel, Our Beautiful Game, which is published by Faber. Inspired by the life of the famous young female footballer Lily Parr, the novel is set in the years in and around the First World War. In the section that we're going to hear, 11-year-old football-mad Polly has reluctantly been sent out wearing her ma's enormous, overblown Sunday best hat to go and attend an interview, very reluctantly, for a job as a scullery maid in a fancy house up on the hill. Polly had never been on the far side of the station. There hadn't been any reason to. As Mum said, it was just a couple of big factories tucked away in the back there, before you got out towards the edge of town and the fancy houses up on the hill. Although it wasn't yet light, it was a lovely crisp morning, without any rain for once. Polly swung her arms, enjoying the walk. If she was going to be cooped up in some little scullery from now on, she might as well make the most of the fresh air while she could. Not that it was fresh exactly. It was full of smoke and steam from the factories, but it still felt good to be out and about and free. She darted forward, dodging round a lamppost and kicking an imaginary ball in the air. Blast! Polly felt a gush of icy water splash up the inside of her legs. Looking down in the gaslight, she saw she'd stepped straight into a big muddy pothole right up to her shins. Her skirt was dripping wet and covered in slimy mud all around the hem. She remembered, too late, that she'd promised Mam to lift her skirt. But what was the point in wearing something you had to hitch up the whole time? As she bent down to inspect the mess, Mum's hat fell off into the puddle too. Blinking heck, Polly cursed, scooping up the soggy hat and putting it on top of a postbox for a moment as she leaned against the high brick wall at the side of the road. She clutched the bottom of her skirt and wrung it out with both hands. A stream of muddy water splashed onto the ground. Polly was just wondering what she was going to do about the thick brown ring of mud all around her hem when she heard a familiar sound. The thwack of leather. She let go of her skirt and pricked up her ears. Football. There was a game going on. Polly could hear it. The scuff of feet and the thud of the ball, just on the other side of the wall. Instinctively, she looked up. The brick wall must have been 10 or 12 feet high. There was no way she'd ever be able to see over it. Here, someone cried out. Pass to me. Polly smiled. From the sound of the voice, it appeared to be a girl, shouting, but she couldn't be sure. Suddenly, a loud cheer went up. A great whoosh of voices all together. Goal! Polly was amazed. That definitely sounded like girls. Lots of them. She started to run as fast as her legs would carry her, darting along beside the wall, frantically searching for some way to see in. As she pelted round the corner, she found a pair of high iron gates with a big yellow sign hanging across them. Low Cross Munitions Factory. Authorised workers only. Keep out. Polly skidded to a halt and peered through the iron bars. Even in the grey morning gloom, she had a clear view of the factory forecourt, which was lit up by lights all around the side. Polly held her breath and stared, all thoughts of the big house on Lilac Hill vanishing from her head. She was right. Girls were playing football together, lots of them, all running about, shouting and kicking the ball. Thank you. And as they say, now for something completely different. So we will take our second reading, which is Sarah Scott, who is going to read us some poems, and there will be 3 poems. The first is called A Child Looks on the World. The second is entitled Looking Out, and the third is called These Things Will Change. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Is this all for me? Is it mine? Is the music in the world feeling me? Will the wind lift me up and let me fly? And can't I be with the fishes? Will the tiny elemental beings hidden under forest mushroom come out to play? And the airship that loomed close and disappeared, who's in there? Can I run up the hill and roll down again? And will soft furry things kiss and hug me too? And can I squeeze and eat everything? And can my dreams be real? Will you hold my hand forever, whether near or far? But let me go and run, but don't let me go. Looking out. At the kitchen window, looking out for love, looking out for life, looking for an answer. Leaves wave and sing for attention. We're where it's at. Don't look beyond us. Their delicately veined body skim the passing air and hover from its pressure. Their outward and upward and underside show off their shades and tones as they glide and bathe in the light. Their shimmying, sensual rumba and then full-on ballet betray underlying fear, then joy, then courage, ever flowing in all elements, all weathers. But I'm still at the kitchen window, looking out, looking beyond, looking for an answer. These things will change. Things will change. The rain trickling down the window, the air that I breathe, the sky being blue, the pressure on my heart, the suffering of being alive, the call for change, the fireworks in November, the secret joys at night, the river's inlets, sandy beaches and sunny days, the wildfires and falling rocks, the waterfalls and flying fishes, the yearn to connect and hold hand in hand, my face and yours. All these things will also change.
Gosh, Sarah, what an absolutely lovely trio of poems there. As a children's writer, I particularly enjoyed the child's eye view of the world in the first one, but also in the second and third poem, that adult ability to still enjoy things that delight us as children, like fireworks and the personification of leaves. Absolutely beautiful, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing those with us. And next, we're going to be hearing another poem, this time from Jeff Edwards, and it's called Before Morning Twilight. Thank you, Jeff.
Hello. Today I'm going to be reading the poem from this book from Wheel Song Press. It's a book that's been put out for the charity Children in Need. You can find it on Amazon under Wheel Song Press. And this is one of the poems that I've written that's in the anthology. Before Morning Twilight. When the moon and the stars come to play with the sun, like czars, the wistful trees adjudicate the wear-on. Serenely sitting on a silent hillside, huddled under a cozy comforter, bundled bodies bracing against the cold, immobilizing hush. The slitting stillness of a scoreless symphony and the tacit splitting starkness of the dark against the light. The demons of the night melt away, grasping claws on the fading night. The probates of dark now to pay, the light vanquishing the bright. Perforated veil tears on the continuum between the coal mine black brooding silhouetted trees, standing, waiting, wanting for a candescent spark and the celestial splendor of tiny teardrops of twinkling stars. Now, there, pale yellow ribbons forcing, prying, splitting the dark asunder. The demons of the night melt away, grasping claws on the fading night. The probates of dark now to pay, the light vanquishing the blight. Slowly sauntering, the snails of Apollo, continuing, climbing, constantly upward, unyielding to the colossal dark. Snails? No, now winged horses canter, whips crack, bridle loosens, hoof beats faster, hooves blazing, dark shatters into cathedrals of bird chorus, smashing the silence. On, the blazing chariot, up, onward, up, gallop, galloping, powerfully, pulling, propelling the dripping sweat of muscles in motion, setting the sky ablaze. Travel, traveling, scattered, scattering, the dark denied. Morning glories open wide, sunflower heads they turn. The brooding trees abide, now no longer yearn. Thank you very much.
Gosh, Jeff, thank you for that one. What a powerful reading. Absolutely fantastic. I love the way that you chose to write the poem about the moment before the moment that we might notice, before the twilight. Just genius. And I particularly love the description of trees as czars, something so menacing and powerful about them in the darkness. A fantastic piece. Thank you, Jeff. Next, we've got some non-fiction from Phyllis Richardson, and it's called The Woman in the China Shop. Thank you so much, Phyllis.
Thank you. It's not nonfiction, it's actually a fictionalized version of a story about a woman who lived in my house. I just have to give a little bit of context. There's a woman who lived in my house in the 1860s, and we know about her because we found lots of pieces of china, broken pieces, in the garden. And so that's how I started researching her. So the woman in the china shop. You come into the house, this old house, this room, quiet, still, and you think, there, I feel something. What is it? A presence. My step on the stair, an aching creak, the rail dampish warm from my hand, my breath at the window glass, a wisp of fog, or at your neck. Close, like you knew me well. Is it desperate, that breath? Fearful? Do you think you hear my tread across the room and back again? My boots over the rug, my skirts brushing the door, going out, where? To the window, to the landing, up the stair. Why am I pacing, you wonder? But this is in your dreams, since you can't see me in life. Or it's in that shadowy space in your head, where dreams take hold, day or night, waking or sleeping. A place where they move about, pale reminders of the shapes of some things, the sounds of others, things that want to be remembered. The sobbing you think is real, until you wake in that room, within the walls where you scraped the paper away to paint a nicer color. Something murderous. The feel of someone running in a sweating panic, running for their life. You worry you've brought yourself, your family, to a murderous house. But it's only a house. You must know that it's people who murder, not houses. Any road, it's not murder really. You may sleep soundly there. But the sobbing has come again, the kind that racks a girl to pieces, that chokes the breath, makes a body want to stop breathing altogether. I've come running all right, but not from my own life this time. My own life I would have gladly given. I'd have forgiven all. Was I in need of forgiveness too? I'll let God decide that one. And now you found some things, all the pieces churned up in that muddy garden, if it ever was a garden. So much rubbish, you've plucked them out like each was a precious jewel, wiped them clean, blue and white, green, brown, vermilion. You think there's a story here about a woman who lived in this place before you in some hazy old time. You like stories, don't we all? Stories that make sense, pieces fit snugly together. You want to put all the bits you found back together. A soup plate, a ewer, a child's cup. Some of the pieces have flowery patterns, all buds and blooms. This plate had a picture in the middle. You can make out a cottage with a stream, a man with a cow, a maid at the well. Idyllic. Not so much a story as a wish. Why so many broken pieces? Is it rubbish or some throwing madness? You've an idea of me now you want to put together, all the pieces, so they make sense. Not madness, you hope. But how many lives make sense? You want to put together the story of me, and then judge. You think I want to be remembered. But why? You've got other things to think on. Your own life. I thought that too. My own life. This house. Though it wasn't old enough then to be haunted by anyone. 'Tis now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. Absolutely gorgeous. I think all of us have wondered, about the things that you find when you dig up the earth, that wonderful sort of trace of history. Apologies for introducing it as listed as non-fiction. It most certainly isn't, but I love the way that it's not entirely fiction either, and there's a kind of bridge between these two worlds. In that, it reminded me very much of Hilary Mantel's Giving Up the Ghost, not only in the subject matter of sort of people and presences that have lived in a house before you, but actually also in the really clever way that your language lifted the veil between then and now. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, Phyllis. Thank you, very much. Next, we have another poem, which is Sharon Poulton and Thwarted Restart. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, this is a poem that I wrote during an appointment that I attended on the government scheme called Restart. I am diligently on time, by the minute early. I sign in and stand. Listening to the post-lunchtime chatter, I look around and I wonder, what the hell am I doing here? Being here fills me with dread, as the environment to me is dead. I wait, listening to your banal conversation. Over £100 in Primark is your exclamation, flaunting it in poverty-stricken faces. For sure, I would not swap places. One afternoon to go, your colleague shouts, smiling, as she closes the door where I stand. nowhere to sit. I quit. I say to myself out loud, I want to go home. A phone rings. All ears can hear a celebration. I completed the tour. Congratulations. I wonder, what the hell am I doing here? In a drab, uninspiring room without cheer. Dreary, drab, open office space. I pace. Surely she's here. I'm now longing to be sat on a wonky chair, even facing someone with a false stare, and hair is better than being witness to you all, standing here by the door. I watch the calming water video on my phone, sound up loud. The chap sat nearest to me looks around. I lower the sound. I breathe deeply and sigh. Really, I think, is this a wind-up? A test? I falter. I approach the desk. I wait. I calmly inquire. I'm wondering if I'm in the right place. Let me see. Your appointment is at 3. No, I say 2. With Rona. Leads into it straight away. Well, let me see. Oh, well, she isn't here today. I'll come back at 3, I say sharply as I turn on my heels. I press the green exit button. What the hell? I tear down the stairs. I run into the sun. Under the big tree in the park, I become as one. Time to spare without a care. I see my mood all aglare, so swiftly I sweep over to the cafe in the park. I ask for an iced lemon to dampen my spark. Temperature drops in the shade of a tree as under the sunlit reddening leaves I return to base, me. I filter out the digging, the screeching teens on the slide. I ignore the external, as inside I hide. Now I am in nature. I feel the wind in my hair. I hear the birds singing. I see the squirrels there. A song has started. It's Friday afternoon after all. Guildhall clock chimes. I must return to the door once more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. What a beautiful reading. I loved your viewpoint there. I was totally in your head, sharing your frustration at this vexing, disappointing situation. I thought your viewpoint was incredibly focused and poignant. And then I loved the contrast then when you escape outside, and I felt the beauty of that park and the way that natural light was almost contrasted with the green, the glaring green of the exit sign. Thought absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Sharon. Next we have 3 more poems from Susan Carberry, and they are entitled Breakdown, Is This Love, and Manifestation. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you, Lou. Good evening, everybody. The first poem I'm going to read is Breakdown. Breakdown. Emptiness fills her mind, washing over its outer cortex in dissonant syncopation. Thoughts trawl in waves of emotion, ebbing and flowing through a fragile psyche. As silently she screams with each hammer blow of her disintegration. Thank you. Is this love? I hear his voice. I see his smile. I feel his warm lips brush over mine. His voice gentle as a sighing breeze. His probing caresses melting me like snow in the fire of his body. What is it with him? Am I in love? How can that be? I have never loved. I have never felt loved. But my pounding heart says this is love. Thank you. Station. Grey skies envelop passers-by, turning them grey with miasma, while gravid nimbus clouds scud over dreary, soulless cities, finally disgorging their contents onto porous pumicite buildings, darkening them to obsidian. Only brilliant aureate solar power exposes Firestone's secret treasures. Precious jewels sparkling, glittering through hard rock. Minuscule gems spewed out with Vulcan's power, swept along in bubbling, boiling, pyroclastic flow, concealed in granite. They will have their epiphany, presented to a world waiting to welcome them into the dazzling, white, incandescent light of hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Again, another brilliant trio. Lovely to hear them all together. You had the line in the first poem in breakdown, emotion ebbing and flowing. And I think that's what I really felt as I was listening to all three of those poems, the way that you just grabbed us by the throat and took us through these changing and fluctuating emotions. I think I particularly enjoyed the middle one where there was a touch of humor too in your consternation that you couldn't quite believe, or the voice couldn't quite believe that they had fallen in love. But just a fantastic picking up of the reader and taking us on that emotional journey with you. Thank you so much, Susan. Now we have a prose piece, which is by Eugenie Bryan, and it's called, intriguingly, The Costa Blues. Thank you very much, Eugenie.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening. People ask why I choose the toilet of Leicester Square's Costa Coffee to practice my aria. I tell them it's because the acoustics in here are as good as any you can get in the London Opera House, and it's free. In any case, I can't practice my singing at home. I say home, but it's a shed where I sleep head to toe, back to back, each night on a bed I share with my cousin Samuel. He's from Eritrea too. We aren't supposed to be here, so we creep around like ghosts, speaking in hushed tones, keeping our souls hidden, although our bodies are visible for those who wish to acknowledge us as human. Even when we slip out to our cleaning jobs in the City of London every day, we walk with bowed heads, trying not to leave alien footprints that give us away to those who don't want us here. The shed is divided by a curtain down the middle, separating us from two other guys who take turns to share a large sofa that doubles up as a bed. They are from Syria and work shifts in local takeaway restaurants. Abdel by day, Ahmed by night. We get no natural light as there are no windows in the shed, so we fumble around like skinny blind mice most of the time, trying not to trip over the tangle of electric wires that snake through the ground like a messy bowl of spaghetti. The only tunes I hear are from the birds tweeting in the trees outside at dawn. They sound like love messages being exchanged by lovers, like a call and response gospel. The kind of song I would love to sing to my girlfriend, Mariam, left back home. Once, when I thought I was alone in the shed and needed to rehearse the verse I had been suppressing in my chest, I raised my voice ever so slightly. Didn't realise one of the guys was trying to sleep under the heap of coats. He told me to shut the F up and go and dwell somewhere else, where people don't have to wake at 5 a.m. to earn their bread. And now the manager of the coffee shop is shouting, "Are you all right in there, mate?" What a stupid question. Of course I'm all right. Never felt better, as I'm doing what I love. Okay. So I realised that it may sound weird to everyone else, especially as my last attempt must have sounded like the throttle of an old engine trying to get into the right gear. But I'm getting there. Just need to keep practicing. I will never give up my dream to be an opera star. Like a scrawny Pavarotti, I can smell the applause of the audience, the encore, the garlands at my feet. The handle of the toilet door is twisting up, now down, faster, more furious. Wait, nothing. Now there's a hollow thud of fists bouncing off the door in perfect harmony. Drummers rising to a crescendo, bringing the opera to a rousing chorus. "Sir, I'm about to open the door. I've had complaints from customers who have been waiting to use the toilet for a long time now. It's now a matter of urgency that you leave, and you're making a lot of noise. Stand back." My friends, I'm sending you this drama live via WhatsApp. I want you to know I used to practice my singing in Calais as I made my way through the jungle. You know, the refugee camp that they show on the news, where people live like rats, sheltering under damp cardboard boxes, knee-deep in mud, as they try to escape to England on the back of a lorry. There are Afghans, Syrians, Nigerians, and Eritreans like me. I tried 10 times to get onto anything with 4 wheels that would get me to England, but 9 times I was caught. One night, I became a very good rat, burying myself into a lorry, carrying cargo to England. I was 10th time lucky. Now I'm here. Nothing will stop me from achieving my dream. I am not in your country for your food or the weather. Just a little bit from your plate will do me just fine. Or so I thought when I first touched my feet on your soil. But now, having seen how some of you squander your good fortune, I want it all. Everything that you have, including the luxury of being obese and dissatisfied with my lot in a land of plenty. When I was in the jungle, the one thing I guarded more than my life was my mobile phone. Not because I wanted to contact anyone back home. Why would I want to tell them about my hunger, my fear of the others in the camp? My mobile now stays near my breast, like my abandoned love. I need to watch performances at the Scala, the Met in New York, and my favourite, the London Opera House. Places where all the big opera stars play. I need to listen to them for motivation, but I also want to study the gilded ceilings, imagine the sweet scent of the wealthy sitting on soft red velvet seats, sipping champagne during the interval, passing judgment on singers with bitter words of jealousy. Now there are 2 people scraping me off the floor, like I'm a nobody, a bloody refugee. Ah, yes, you customers, all of you staring at me, mouths agape, as I am being pushed through the door. Watch me sing. You are my audience, whether you like it or not. There is no escape. I will raise my voice until I start gagging, higher, louder, until I feel my entrails rise to meet my ribs. They call me a public nuisance, but I am practicing my craft. Even when they put me in the cell, I will sing and sing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eugenie. I said it was an intriguing title, and I would never have guessed what was behind it. Certainly, if I'm ever in the Costa in Leicester Square, I shall cock an ear towards the toilet door, just in case I catch an aria drifting out. What a heartfelt and incredible piece. Again, the viewpoint so strong as you took us into that shed and we saw exactly how the voice lived and where they lived. Incredible. And then the echoing of music with the sound of the birds as a joyous thing, and the thumping and drumming on the door as a sort of operatic threat to the character's safety. What an incredibly poignant and heartfelt piece. Thank you so, so much, Eugenie. Next, we have another poem, which is entitled Heatwave and is by Ian Tucknott. Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This poem was written last summer when the heat was in the 40s, and I unfortunately had tonsillitis at the same time, which was fun. It's called Heatwave. It's one thing to prepare for heat, but what does it take to live with fire? Sickness is a meditation after all. Only this pain that is even now in my sweat, that scalds my hands. What choice do we have besides faith in recovery? From omnipotence to immortality, from this belief to mortality. On this too hot day, we've perhaps reached a point of maturity. The fuzzy pellet of a fly dashes between the window and the blinds and skitters, a winged meditation. A child plays a recorder 3 doors down, startling the crescendo with a misplaced finger. She too falls silent. Smoke on the horizon turns the gap between the houses purple. A fire too far for sirens, so silence there too. Ash makes itself a cloud. It'll snow later, and each flake will have fractured its identity around a part of that very same flame. I'm burning up as the neighbour's girl resumes her tune. I'm in the fever dream. The fly loses its wings slowly. I can't concentrate to see it happen. It folds each leg inward, one by one, to form its individual and meticulous grief shape. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you, Ian. You set yourself a challenge, taking us to the heat of summer just as winter is creeping in. It definitely today felt like the first day of winter as opposed to autumn, didn't it? With a real chill in the air. But I was absolutely transported back to the hot days of summer, brilliantly, and I loved the gorgeous alienness of that image of snow in the heat, and using that opposite to contrast the feeling at the center of the poem and the strangeness of events that happen as ash becomes like snow. I thought such a clever metaphor spinning through it. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much, Ian. We now have another poem, which is by Appia Saki, and it's called A Future Poem. Thank you so much, Appia.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to read. As you heard, my poem is called A Future Poem. It's part of a long series of poems I'm doing to celebrate my 70th birthday, which will be 3 years from now. The poem has a short quotation from a brilliant poem by a South African writer called Catherine Kilalea. And the quote is, "We certainly are not at the beginning anymore." So I'm reading just part 1 of the poem. The 70th birthday cake has been eaten, the champagne finished. We've been around the graveyard twice. No need to pay respects to anyone missing. Maybe We shall keep going round in circles for the rest of our lives, or until the end, we shall never come. Our John has become a widower. Martha has always been a dreamer. No one knows what has become of Akosua. Oh, some gravestones have disappeared, and there are now shops on the far side of the town. The middle has never been taken, and we never really sure where we are, not so? The questions we asked years ago still hang in the air. What's the purpose of all this? Why all the wahala? Listen, an echo from the valley. What's the real purpose of all this? Are the rainbow drops splashing on us the answers? Is the sunshine consoling us the real clue? We can go back to some beginning, but we cannot start all over again. Too many daybreaks checked off since this story began. Too many lunches munched and dinners never finished. Martha is still dreaming while she washes the dishes. Mary is earning brownie points for who knows why. We shall certainly sing other songs next year and the year after. And if we don't, our children and their children will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Appia. I love the idea of getting ready for celebrations for a big birthday 3 years in advance. I think I'll definitely take that one up. That sounds like an excellent idea. What I loved in this poem, we've seen the really such strong viewpoint in the poems in particular that we've heard today. But what I loved here was not only the viewpoint of the speaking character, but also these glimpses of these other characters like Martha, and just a momentary line that told us so much about them. And we learned so much in a single sentence, almost a half sentence, sometimes just a beat, and we could see that character, which I thought was extraordinary. Thank you very, very much, Appia. And we now have Missy Billy D. Lewis with Oops, Prostate Gate. Thank you, Missy. I look forward to this one.
Okay. This is a series of poems which I've written about mental health. So, and just get the job done. So this is called Oops, Prostate Gate. Am I too late? So this is going to be quite funny, people, because my papers just fell on the floor. So here we go. It's Jamaican. Oops, prostate gate. Copperfield, am I too late? My prostate is irate. Flash down, here I go, cover my eyes and ears if you don't know. Hands down, I fumble around to check my prostate. It don't want to be found. A body part that I hardly know. Now the place my hands normally tend to go. And my thoughts, neither my rhythmic mind. Sure, mental health is on standby. Worry consumes my pulse and flow. It seems it's time for a meet and greet. I prefer to be shopping in Temple on Oxford Street. I have a constant feeling of residual urine, makes my emotions go up and down. Physically, I wear an invisible frown. How awkward and surreal. I touch myself as I cop a feel. It's not a thing that men talk about. We'd rather have a banter throughout, laugh and joke, while inside we choke, and what provokes, ignites, and evokes a silent reproach. I heard the doctor say, It's an internal X gland. Is that a joke or just a plain bland? Could also be a timing at hand between one's bladder and one's pelvis. How ironic, just make me think of Elvis, gyrating in it faster than drumsticks. Sure, the size of a walnut, chestnut roughly 25 grams, bam! I used to play conkers at school, you know, on a long dangly string, tuck it away when I heard the school bell ring. Task at hand, what's secretion formation? I have to Google search for more information. Sure. Oh, no, am I too late for a diagnosis of prostate gate? Deep down, I worry when I try to hide as fears resides inside. What if it is I who dies? How will I know if one crown jewel is wealthy and the other unhealthy? Normally, I just wash and go. As a man in society, am I allowed to cry, show my emotions, wipe tears from my eyes? I was told suppress is best. Swallow it down into your chest, grin and bear it, and carry on. Grit your teeth, knuckle down as if nothing happened, and all the pain has gone. Big boys don't cry. That's what Daddy said. I knocked that whooping lie straight on his head and put it to bed. He must have drunk too much rum punch that went to his head the night he used those words he said. It feels a bit irritated down below, you know, with a constant urge that I need to go. When I try, it drizzles and trickles. Small outbursts within sizzles. Am I on time? Am I too late? I must hurry to the doctor, Copperfield, and not procrastinate. Sometimes I'm standing there with a weak and difficult flow. I wonder, is my prostate enlarged? Or is it one of those days when it just hard to go? Pressing against my bladder, blocking my human drain, causing discomfort at times, tremendous nauseating pain. I gave myself an awful fright one night when I had to go more than 7 times. I was awoke. I swear I heard Big Ben chime. 3 out of 5 guys have prostate pain, ignoring the warning signs that could lead to a positive end game. Oh no, doctor, am I too late for a diagnosis of prostate gate? Deep down, I worry. My thoughts drift aside, realizing and releasing ego and pride. What if it is I who survives? Walk through your fears, people. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Missy. If I had access to any NHS funding that I could distribute at my wish, I would definitely get you reading that poem live on television every night. The difference it would make to people's lives, just fantastic. I loved the way that you took the way that any of us in whatever body we inhabit are just sort of visitors in our own body sometimes, and so surprised by what it does and what we can do to it, and how powerless we sometimes are. But I especially loved the blend of humor and pain that came out in the poem, and that lovely encapsulating, that important encapsulating of physical and mental health coming together in this one tiny thing the size of a walnut, and how that can explode your whole life. What an important and wonderful piece. Thank you so much, Missy. And now for our final reading, we are going to Varsha Shah, who is a former Writing for Children and Writing for Children workshop student who I had the great privilege to teach, though honestly, I think she's taught me far more than I could have ever taught her along the way as we've continued in our friendship and reading. And Varsha tonight is going to be reading from Ajay and the Jaipur Moon, which is published by Chicken House. Thank you, Varsha.
Thank you so much for that incredibly kind and generous introduction. Ajay and the Jaipur Moon is the second book in the series. Yeah, so I'll just read an extract from it. The round drones hovered in the air like vultures. Then one, further ahead compared to the rest, flew low and dived towards them. Next to him, Ajay felt Jay freeze. He reached out, touched Jay's arm. There was no time to do anything more. The drone was hurtling towards them like a small cannonball. As it got closer, it looked bigger and bigger. The dark razor-like claws coming from its round body were slicing through the air, coming towards Ajay's head. He yelped. Next to him, Yasmin flung a stone at it, but it just bounced off the metal legs. The center, shouted Saif from behind them. Hit its center. That's where its AI neural accelerator will be. What? Yasmin flung another stone and it hit the drone dead center like a bowling ball. Stunned, the drone stopped and spun and crashed to the ground. It blinked out, giving a strange, sharp, high-pitched whistle. Yeah! Ajay punched the air. They'd done it! The heroes from Mumbai, the team behind the mighty Mumbai Sun, Watch out, Ajay! Screamed Yasmin. 3 drones dipped forward and made for them. Ajay dragged Jay, who was still frozen, behind him. Yasmin threw another stone, missed, threw another, pinging the edge of a wing to the one to the left. It jammed, and the drone skittered to the side, its legs in spasms. Vinod stood and yelled as he charged at one with his frying pan. Clang! The edge of a claw got stuck on the bottom of the pan. The third kept coming towards Ajay. He dug his hand into his pocket, pulled out a cricket ball, and ran forwards, doing an overarm throw and hitting the drone dead in the center with all the force he had. Bullseye. The drone spiraled and smoked in the air, then dropped lifeless to the ground. We're winning, boasted Ajay, panting. Don't be too sure, said Yasmin, her eyes on the cloud of drones. Ajay looked too. He shouldn't have spoken. The rest, over 10 of them, dipped like cannonballs with deadly claws, arranging themselves in an arrowhead. The red lights on their surface glittered malevolently. Then they attacked, the point of the arrow of drones heading straight for Saif. They were after the meteorite, and no human body was going to stand in their way. Ajay frantically fished in his pockets for something, anything, to throw at the drones, then turn them out. They were empty. His breath left his body. He felt sick. The drones attacked, churning up dust and wind and flying pieces of metal. Ajay felt the whoosh of them and put his arms in front of his face to protect it. Flying up, the leg of one gashed Ajay's arm. He felt the sharp, scissor-cold pain and, fumbling, clamped his hand over the cut that seeped blood. Ajay! Yasmin screamed. He tried to say something, but his jaw had clenched with the pain. Then he looked up. Cold fear shot through him. The drones hadn't got low enough. They flew past in arrow formation. Ajay and Yasmin ducked as the drones whirled up, circling back into position. They beeped furiously, hovering in front of Ajay and his friends, adjusting their dive. This time they wouldn't miss. Yasmin stopped frantically, tying her scarf around Ajay's arm, and they clutched each other as the drones fanned out behind one another. Ajay felt a pit of rage in his stomach. What hope did he and his friends have? To the drones, they were just targets, standing in the way of the meteorite they had come to collect with their scraping metal claws. And then, "Get down!" Jay shouted from behind them. There was no uncertainty in his voice. It flowed with command. Now! Electrified, Ajay, Yasmin, and Vinod dived to the ground. Behind them, they heard Jay give a war cry and saw him run forward, a silhouette against the red glow of the sun. He hit out with his bat at the center of the first drone. Smack! The drone was hurtled away in an arc, and then all Ajay could hear was the sound of wood smashing against metal. Again and again, Jay and his bat in a blur, slamming faster than Ajay could see. Cogs, silver flashing pieces of metal, lights, all spun out in different directions. Having faced down the black hole of fear and doubt, Jay was no longer just the best cricketer that Mumbai had ever seen. He was more. Again and again, he smashed the drones far into the distance. Go, Jay! Vinod, Saif, and Yasmin cheered. Ajay punched the air, his fear forgotten. He had his headline, Boy Against Machine. Jay, focused and alert, kept batting. Each shot was seamless and formidable. And then, all of a sudden, there was nothing. Just empty blue sky and the wreckage of the drones in front of them, like broken metal spiders half buried in the ground. Ajay, Binod, and Yasmin stood in awed silence. Jay turned to them, holding the bat that was smashed into smithereens, looking exhausted but elated. Jay, their friend, his eyes shining with fire and confidence. Jay! Vinod ran towards him, engulfing him in a big hug. Yasmin wasn't far behind, knuckling Jay's hair joyously. Ajay flung himself on top of them, throwing his arms around them all and jumping up and down. Jay had saved them.
Phew. Wonderful, Varsha. Thank you. I was tense. I was definitely tense. Were they going to get away with it? We have a great rule in children's writing: never get the adults involved, never bring mum and dad or the police or teachers or anyone to help you. And I think that was just the consummate example, Varsha, of kids doing it by themselves and just winning the day. Absolutely glorious. Thank you. Varsha and I are now going to have a short Q&A, and I'll start off with some questions, but do feel free, anybody, to put a couple of questions in the chat if you would like to, and I'll try and sort of keep one eye on them and pull them in if we get time. That would be fabulous. So, Varsha, I think one of the things that I think people always want to know, and particularly with many developing writers at City Lit, I think one of the things people are always keen to know is your sort of publication journey and as a City Lit student from class to bookshelf. How did that happen?
Nothing at all and then all at once was essentially the journey. Going to say as well, just the gorgeous readings. They were so wonderful to listen to, and I'm sorry, I only just discovered the chat, so I sort of missed being able to sort of say how wonderful they were. That it's just so inspiring, and I think that really sort of in terms of the publication journey, it is so much about luck, because I sent Ajay, well, I wrote a book before Ajay, the Ajay series, and that got sort of little bits of interest, but not I didn't get an agent to represent me, and then I sent sort of the Ajay book out, and it got lots and lots of rejections from agents, and it then the really lucky thing was the competition. So I entered it into the Times Chicken House competition in 2020, and what a year! and yeah, it just got through. So it got through the shortlist and the long list, and then eventually sort of it won the prize, which was publication essentially. Yeah, it was just such an incredible moment, because Barry Cunningham rings you up for sort of afterwards, and just tells you, like, just and you're kind of still in a daze that, oh my God, it happened. So yeah, it's so much about sort of yeah, it's so much just about luck. It just takes the thing that I keep sort of realizing more and more is it just takes one person to sort of say yes, and you kind of just need to keep going until that one person, if you kind of I think Lou always used to tell me that if you build it, they will come, and that kind of just if you really love writing something and it kind of yeah, you just kind of hope and yeah, and fingers crossed.
Well, I would absolutely agree with that, Varsha. I think there's a lot of luck, but also I think you did write it so they would come, because you were also, alongside the luck, which I absolutely agree, there are great writers out there who the luck has not struck them. But I think in order to utilize that luck, you need to do what you have always done, which is to work hard all the time and to take on board criticism and change and adapt and be flexible and open. And I always think, Varsha, it's incredible how well you know your characters. I mean, they just, I feel like you know, that they might all live under your bed, you know, so well. And particularly, I was struck in the extracts that we were reading, all those characters that if you read the series, if you read Varsha's Ajay series, all this little gang of kids come back again and again, and this glorious friendship and warmth that's at the heart of the book. But what I was struck all with their different personalities, the cricketing one, the one who's always talking about food, the apprentice engineer, and Ajay at the center of it all. And I was really struck listening to the extract that you just read us, Varsha, and perhaps this is a slightly prosaic question, but I was really struck by how well you moved everybody through time and space. And I'm sure any of you who've been at a fiction writing workshop, and I know it's something we spend an enormous amount of time in the children's writing workshops, it's so hard to move people through time and space, isn't it? To get your characters moving around in a scene. And I wondered if you had any tips as to how you did that, Varsha, or how you do that, or is that something you find difficult, or does it come naturally?
I think I've got I think the secret for me in terms of when I get it right, and I don't always get it right, like it's you know, still work in progress, but the I see it as a film. So I think I literally just see the exciting scenes, and also I've got the boredom threshold of a you know, of a gnat really. So I get bored so quickly that I just kind of want to get into the scene, and that kind of actually serves me quite well in this series, particularly because it's I think I just get so bored that I just want to get to the interesting bit, so I just sort of get them to that quite quickly, and then get them out quite quickly because I'm sort of just done. So my chapters are quite short. But also I think it's editing. It's you write it and write it, and there's so much rubbish, and then you kind of cut it and you start the scene halfway, and just that kind of, you know, having to cut half a scene because actually it was all just kind of working up to the bit where they actually start doing something and get there, or even within the lines, you know, there's loads of sort of nonsense and then you kind of cut that, and then suddenly it just crisps it up. So yeah, so I think that's the only way I can get it right, and it's literally it's I get it wrong, and then finally hopefully it moves quite quickly. But yeah, I think that's probably it. But yeah.
Wonderful, what a great answer. And I love to hear you acknowledge that you see it like a film, because that doesn't surprise me at all, because when you were reading there and when I've read your books, I almost see little actors running along the lines. You know, you really bring it to life, and I can imagine the children and all the characters live in front of me. And let's get these movies made. Come on, let's let that be the next thing that we do. Please don't forget to pop a question or two in the chat if you would like to ask Varsha something. But Varsha, I wanted to know, what do you most enjoy about writing for children? I mean, you're a wonderful writer. You could have written for anyone. You could have written any kind of book that you wanted, but you chose to write for children. Any reason why? Perhaps it's that attention span again. We can write shorter books, but any reason why? And what do you most enjoy about it?
That's such a good question. I think the books that really got into my bloodstream, when even now, like the ones that have formed me, were the ones I read as a child, and so I think it feels sort of such a joyful kind of energy and I love reading children's books. Catherine Rundell's got a very good Why You Should Read Children's Books, so you're so old and wise, and it is just glorious. But also I think that I don't really sort of I think I'm not sure that I choose that much. I think that the stories, I love stories of these sort of tight groups of friends. I really love stories that kind of move move quite quickly, and I really love action-based stories, and so actually I think I've always seen them as films, and I love giving that gift. I love sort of imagining kids reading them, or sort of, you know, being caught up with them. But I think just genuinely the stories, because I want to tell these stories, they're children's stories, so it's almost like the story's chosen the form as much as anything. I love stories of groups of friends. I love stories about action and adventure. So I think I just love, essentially, this is a very long-winded answer. I love children's books. So yeah, I just love them so much.
Are you like me, Varsha? Do you, when you read an autobiography or a novel that has or a biography that starts with childhood, do you lose interest sometimes as it goes on beyond that? I'm slightly guilty of that, I think, because I love just that pure emotion of friendship and childhood.
And that intensity, I think, of childhood, you know, that really sort of glorious kind of like justice, and the themes, I think, are very, very sort of and I love uplifting books as well. So I think all together, I think it's
Fantastic. I've got a fantastic question for you here that says, your characters are so vivid and fully rounded. Are they based on people you know? Interesting.
It's a really good question, and I always used to think when I read like books sort of before that, oh, they must be kind of based on people and stuff. But actually, these ones aren't. So well, maybe Ajay's got quite a bit of me in it. So which is so and people will say, oh, he's such a lovely flawed character, and I'm like, I know. He's yeah, so Ajay's probably got a lot of me in it, but actually the characters came pretty fully formed, and I'm not even sure sort of how because Safe is just, you know, I love that sort of, you know, the comedy kind of character thing, and Jay, yeah, they almost all came quite fully formed. It wasn't even those main characters were, it was just very, very strange that they kind of existed at when I needed them. So yeah, it's a bit odd in that they aren't really based on anyone that I know, but somehow they feel that they'd. But then I think I'd written out in my first book. I think I'd sort of written out all the characters, sort of old kind of, you know, bits of characters and stuff. And so actually, these ones were kind of what was, once you get through all the kind of scraping, I think, almost, then suddenly these were the characters that I really, really wanted to write about. So yeah, it's still, I'm still not sure how some of these characters came out,
Amazing.
really.
You think so they were sort of pestering you to write a story for them almost, were they?
I think so, because I think I've always loved like the energy of like a cheeky character kind of thing, and so I think Ajay was pretty, you know, it was there, and then the stubbornness and stuff, and then and Yasmin, actually I'd written a short story, and she'd been sort of in there, that's actually then actually I thought, oh, she's great, and then and Vinod was actually, it started when I first wrote, I think I had a different version where it was an more adult thing, and then actually changed it to, you know, this character Vinod, who, you know, just very, very quiet compared to, you know, the quiet, you know, which I never am. So it's almost like the opposite. So it was almost like what I needed in the story, but somehow the story brought the characters to life, because I needed a character that was quite comic, and I needed a character that was you know, had more wisdom perhaps than Ajay, a character that had a darker story, an older story, which came through in Jay. So yeah, it's a strange. I'm not sure I can wholly explain it.
I think that's one of the things that's one of the things I really, really love about your writing, Varsha, is you have this group of people, this group of children in this series who all sort of bash off against each other, and their relationship cause friction and drama because they're so different. But when they finally get it right, they're like the dream team, because you've got all those different characters coming together. Fantastic. I've been asked how many drafts you write of a story.
This is tricky. So it's a very good question. I write in one document. So I write, and I start from chapter 1 and I finish at the end, initially. And so every time I start again, I sort of go back a bit and then keep revising, and then sort of, so it's almost like wood shavings. Like I'm so by the end, I've probably on like 150 kind of but it's not edited. It's not that I've gone back each time. It's literally just that I've started again kind of thing, and then gone back and then gone as far as I can. And then I think, oh, actually, I'm not sure which way to go here. I know up till now is okay, but I'm not sure the next bit. And then I'll do another document, if that makes sense, and then I'll have it there. And I almost never go back, but it's nice to have that comfort of that. So I've got all of those. So by the time I finish that, that's my first draft, but actually it's been through loads because I've been essentially going back through it as I move forwards, kind of thing, just gradually kind of getting there. And then I've got my first draft, and then I'll go through it again with edits, you know, just looking through it again. So I'll do a proper one, and then I get sort of friends and people to sort of read it and just sort of give any bits and pieces, and then I'll try and incorporate those. And then it's the actual process of editing where it then gets edited again. But the first draft that the publisher sees is never the first draft. It's by far the
Don't let
later.
them see that.
Yeah, exactly. latest draft. So yeah, it's so in one way it's only, you know, if you look at the number of drafts before it gets to sort of proper editing stage that I do, is probably it sounds like just 3 drafts probably, because but the first draft has got so many times I've gone through it that actually it's been seen a lot by me as I'm going through.
So you're doing lots of your planning in the first draft rather than maybe having a rigid plan that you're sort of following before.
Oh yeah,
set out.
I've got no plan. I've got no plan when I'm it's awful because you yeah, like I've got a scene in my head where it's going at the end. I've got a scene in the middle. But there's and I just, it's like a tightrope act. You just hope you can just get it to work.
Lovely. I think that works as long as you've got that scene in the middle and the scene in the end. As long as you've got a rough idea where you're going, I think that can sometimes suffice as planning, if you're prepared to be rigorous and if you're prepared to give yourself a tough time as you go along, which I know you are, Varsha. Finally, I've been asked a City Lit question, which is, what are your memories of studying at City Lit, and is there anything that stands out that you took away from that experience? Which is nice to end on a sort of City Lit thing on a City Lit evening.
It really is. I mean, City Lit's like just genuinely changed my life. I wouldn't be published without it. It's really, really as simple as that. It's extraordinary. So I did, and this is all Lou, so thank you, Lou, and City Lit to having this amazing course in the evenings, because I work, and so to have this reasonably priced course, which, you know, you can go into. But I did the beginners course, and I did the workshop, and I did that, and there is nothing like having a group of people in the workshop and in the beginners course and a teacher like Lou. There is literally nothing like it, because I had to learn how to write for children. I had to learn there's a craft to it, and I forget bits of those craft, you know, like and yet if you go back to that foundation, then you can usually find a way-ish through, she says, sort of at the moment trying to desperately try and remember them. So the craft, you know, thank you, Lou, because there's a reason the first book's dedicated to Lou, is the, you know, it just wouldn't have happened without being taught those things. But then the wonderful, wonderful people who I've put in the acknowledgements, and I just couldn't put everyone's name in, because honestly, the people in the workshop, and I've done it for years, so, you know, all the people who read these chapters, and honestly, there is no way the initial drafts would you know, get anywhere. They were revised and revised thanks to feedback. There were decision points where people told me, you know, oh, actually, or something came up, and there's nothing that can say how grateful I am for City Lit, for the workshop, for everyone in the workshop, to Lou. Like it is absolutely extraordinary what a workshop can do to a piece of work, and the inspiration and the getting you through the tough times, and then giving you I don't think you can see a work on your own sometimes, like you kind of see it, and then when other people do, and you listen and you try and improve it, and sort of learn how to do it. It's yeah, some of my closest friends are still from the workshop, and yeah, I'm unbelievably grateful.
Oh, thank you, Varsha. Varsha talked a little bit about luck in getting published, but I would just like to say that I knew from the get-go, because Varsha did the beginner's course, the Introduction to Children's Writing, Writing for Children, for a year. And she was talented and wonderful. And I'd marked her out and I thought, gonna watch that one. And then the following September, there she was sitting in the beginner's class again, at which point I panicked and said, oh, there must have been an admin error. Sorry, you're not supposed to be here. And she said, no, I've come to learn again. I've come to check that I've taken everything in. And so she did the introductory beginner's course twice in order to really challenge her skill set and to learn. So when she talks of luck, yes, but it's also that level of openness to information and challenge and hard work that is deeply embedded in all our writing. As we saw this evening, I can tell we've got a lot of hard workers here, and I wish you all luck on your onward journeys. Great luck. But what a fabulous evening we've had with such a range of forms and styles and topics, just absolutely glorious. And thank you, Varsha, for letting us chat to you. Thank you to all the writers who've shared with us, and a huge thank you to our amazing BSL interpreters, Tess and Charmaine, who, I'm feeling tense just looking at what you have to do as we all waffle on like this, and you have to guess what we're going to say next and keep up. So thank you. It's been absolutely incredible. And thank you to Jackson and Cattell and any other City Lit staff behind the scenes doing their technical wizardry, getting all the Zoom and the webinar to work, and also for organising the event. Don't forget, those two things will be really helpful to us, both the feedback form with any suggestions of how we can improve and or what you've enjoyed, and anything you'd like to see in future would be really fantastic. And I think the theme that's run through tonight really is the importance, the life-saving, incredible joy and importance and soul feeding that comes from creativity. So do remember, if you possibly can as well, to make a donation to the City Lit Student Bursary so that everyone can get a glimpse of the courses that City Lit offers and a chance to join in, and a little bit of, I think, what Varsha spoke about there of the life-changing opportunity that it can give. So a huge thank you to all of you for coming along tonight and for sharing this experience with us. Thank you so much.